Hi there, Chris, chap in the camp, Motolegends. Today we're going to be talking about an adventure suit called the Carlsbad from the American adventure brand Klim. That's K-L-I-M, Klim. Motolegends is the biggest seller of Klim gear in the UK, and by quite a margin. But we haven't been working with the American company for all that long, and we would accept that we do not know their range inside out in the way that, say, we know Halvarson's or Rucker. And that might explain why we didn't originally choose the suit that we're going to be talking about today, the Carlsbad suit. Instead, for this year, because they are better known, we chose their off-road suit, their #1 adventure suit, the Badlands, and also the Kodiak, which is a little bit more road-oriented. Now, the problem with Klim is, as an American company, their infrastructure in Europe and in the UK is somewhat lacking, and ever since Brexit, the supply of Klim has been simply appalling. Indeed, the two suits that we chose, the Badlands and the Kodiak, we've had almost no stock of, and that's forced us to widen the net a little bit. And when we were looking through the range, we came across this other suit that we're going to talk about today, the Carlsbad, and I've got to say, we like it. At times, we have disagreed with Klim about the definition or the meaning of an adventure suit. For Klim, the Badlands is their ultimate adventure suit. It's their #1 suit. But for us, a proper adventure suit does not have a waterproof membrane, because if you're riding somewhere hot, if you're in Africa or crossing a desert somewhere, the last thing you want anywhere near you is a waterproof membrane, because it's going to be difficult to breathe and the oncoming air won't cool you down either. Similarly, if you're working hard off-road, again, a membrane should not be part of any suit where you're working off-road. But in America, in the US, they have a different interpretation of adventure riding and what an adventure suit is. Over there, if you ride mostly on the road, if you do 90% of your riding on the road, but then occasionally you go off down some fire trail and do a bit of off-road riding, that constitutes adventure riding, and that constitutes an adventure suit. And that's why in America, what they look for in an adventure suit is a suit that does a little bit of everything, which indeed a suit like the Badlands does, because when it rains, you're protected here with a Gore-Tex 3-layer pro shell. Lots of venting so that when it does get hot, you can open the vents up. Not going to be as good as a jacket without a membrane, but they're trying to cover all eventualities, the hot and the cold and so on. The Badlands is it's actually Klim's #1 suit, but I have to say that we are not huge fans. It's a big, heavy, baggy suit. It's also super expensive. We accept fully that the Carlsbad was not on our original pick list, as it were, but we've come to the view that for many people, the Carlsbad may actually be a better choice. In principle, the Carlsbad is a very similar kind of suit to the Badlands. It's got a slightly more fitted shape, but it's still got that loosish fit that you need if you're moving about on the bike, if you're riding off-road. But whereas the Badlands comes with a 3-layer laminated pro shell chassis, the Carlsbad has a much easier to live with 2-layer laminated performance shell, as Gore-Tex call it. But despite that, there's no trade-off in terms of, for example, warranty. There's no trade-off as far as waterproofing is concerned. But the 2-layer is going to be easier to live with, more comfortable than the 3-layer. So why might you choose the Badlands over the Carlsbad? Well, firstly, the Badlands has a much higher EN 17092 rating. I say much higher. The Carlsbad comes in at AA, which is pretty impressive. That's as good as you'll get on anything from, say, Rucker or Stadler. But the Badlands has a AAA rating, and that's quite extraordinary. In fact, there's not a single other Gore-Tex jacket on the market that has a AAA rating. Personally, we wish that Klim had applied that technology to their road-going Kodiak suit rather than an off-road suit, but that's a decision that Klim took. The Badlands also has, I suppose, more bells and whistles. It's got the lumbar support belt, you've got more vents, you've got more pockets and so on. But the Carlsbad is a lot less expensive, and it's going to be much nicer to live with. It's a much more comfortable suit. So frankly, here at Motolegends, I think we would probably always choose the Carlsbad over the Badlands. So let's talk in a little bit more detail about the Carlsbad. Let's start first with the jacket. Carlsbad, both top and bottom, made from a combination of fabrics. The main chassis is a material known as a 400 FPL. That's not going to mean much to anybody, but we've done a conversion of it. We found a conversion chart on the internet. It's the equivalent of about a 650 denier cordura, and that's a very respectable material. It was what you would expect to find on a good quality rucker suit, for example. On top of that material, there's an overlay. This is also a 650 denier material, but this is made from a twisted yarn. Creates an effect of something a little bit like ripstop. You might have come across ripstop on camping gear. When it's applied to a rucker garment, it's known as armor core, and the idea is it just adds abrasion resistance and tear resistance to the areas that it covers. And here on the Carlsbad, on the jacket, it's on the sleeves, it's on the shoulders, down the sleeves, and for some reason that I've not quite worked out, it's also on the pockets. But the idea is it creates much higher levels of abrasion resistance, but in a much lighter package than you get, for example, with the Badlands. Now, the Badlands is an amazing suit. It's AAA rated under EN 17092. Personally, we think that's a little bit wasted on a pure off-road suit. We wish that they had applied that technology and put it into their road suit, the Kodiak, but ours not to question why. But this suit comes in at a very respectable AA. Remember, that's the same level that you're going to get with the best from Rucker, the best from Stadler. So even though this is ostensibly an off-road kind of adventure suit, it's still going to be certainly up to the job as a road suit. Two areas of protection. Obviously, if we're talking about motorcycle gear, there is abrasion resistance. If you go down the road, you want something that is not going to tear apart, and that's what all this is about, these extra strengths of material. We also want impact protection, and that's the armor. So here on the jacket, we have level 2 D30 in the shoulders, the elbows, and also as standard in the back. It's the vented armor, as you would expect in a suit like this. Mentioned already that the Badlands comes as standard with a kidney belt. This jacket doesn't, but it has the zips that enable you to thread a kidney belt through it. Personally, if I'm riding off-road, I really like the extra security and support of a kidney belt. It's just a little bit of an extra cost on the Carlsbad. Venting is a big deal at Klim, and that's because they are using laminate technology for waterproofing. Therefore, they need to compensate for that by having the ability to flow lots of air into the jacket via the vents. So what we have here, we have vents here on the chest, 2 vents here up the chest. We have 2 equivalent ones on the back. In fact, strangely, they're in the lower part of the back. Normally one finds them behind the shoulders, but these are the lower part of the back. This here is a pocket, but if you're not using it as a pocket, then that's also going to flow a fairly decent amount of air. You've also got vents here up and down the sleeves. All the zips on this jacket are protected with the highest quality YKK waterproof zips, and that's important on a laminated jacket because unlike a drop liner jacket, because the membrane is bonded onto the outer fabric, when you have a vent in it, that goes straight through to the body. So in the rain, the only thing that is stopping the rain reaching the body is the waterproof zip. But this jacket, as I've said, has the very best quality waterproof zips from YKK. Pockets are also a real big thing for Klim. All of their jackets seem to be festooned with pockets. So on this one, let's just talk through them. We've got 2 upper pockets here. There's a slightly asymmetric thing going on up here. 2 lower pockets. We've got a pocket here at the end of the sleeve. I find pockets like this very useful, particularly if I'm touring, if I'm abroad and I'm on the autoroute. It's a great place to keep a credit card if you're turning up at the péage and just want to get it, put it into the machine and so on. There are no less than 6 pockets inside, including a hidden one that we're not meant to talk about, but it's somewhere near the back protector. That will take a passport, so if you want to really keep your documents safe so that no one will find them, that's the place that you would put it, unless of course you've watched this video, in which case you know exactly where to go and find someone's passport. Let's look at some of the other details. Soft edging here on the collar, that's done for 2 reasons. First, for comfort, but also as rain comes down the helmet in rain, when it's raining, that water will try to find its way into the jacket and it will be a little bit absorbed by this collar here. You've also got an adjuster that is going to enable you to tighten the collar to kind of make that a little bit more effective. One of the things that we really like about Klim's jackets, and I don't know why everybody doesn't do this, but at times when it's hot, we just want to ride with the collar open. But in most jackets, it opens, you maybe got a bit of Velcro, it flaps around, it gets in the way, it's noisy, it just doesn't work. But what Klim do, they've created these little tabs with elastication on, and you just pin those back. It means you can ride along, you can get a little bit more air in, and it doesn't get in the way. You've also got black Scotch-Lite material here for extra visibility at night. Here on the forearms, this depends, this is all about what you're going to be wearing underneath it, because if you're wearing, because this jacket doesn't come with any kind of thermal liner, if you do want to put something underneath, then that's going to increase the volume. So you'll loosen that to allow you to put something inside. But if you're wearing nothing at all in hot conditions, you would strap this tight just to make sure that the sleeves don't flap in the wind. Here at the end of the sleeves, I've mentioned these vents here, but not only are they vents, but it's an opening, it's a gusset that enables you to get a glove inside there. And then obviously once the glove's inside, you would use the Velcro to cinch around the cuff of the glove. Pockets, I've mentioned the pockets, but these are billows pockets, so they've got these billows here that are going to enable them to take a fair amount of material. You've also got some side entry. I don't think you'd be keeping much in there, but if you find yourself just wanting to keep your hands warm, you would put your hands in there. In terms of the main zip, it's a double or a two-way zip. That's important if you're on the bike. Let's say you're you've got a bit of a tummy, it's a little bit uncomfortable on the bike. You just want to ease the pressure. You undo the zip from the bottom. That's going to allow the jacket to splay. Now, having mentioned zips and their propensity or the fear that they will let water in and therefore you will get wet, what we have here on this particular jacket, the main zip is not a waterproof zip, because when main zips are waterproof, they tend to be very stiff and uncomfortable. So this is not a waterproof zip. It's a very high quality zip, but it's not a particularly waterproof zip in its own right. But what you have is a double storm flap. You've got the outer flap, then you've got the inner flap. If water gets in there, there's a rain gutter, and that's going to run down through at the bottom of the jacket. You've also got a lowered back on the jacket. That's a nice thing to have, particularly useful if you're not zipping in, because it just stops the cold air, it stops the rain coming in. This jacket does actually zip into the pant. It's got a short zip across the back. It's not a full 80 degree zip, but it's still nice. We like to see a motorcycle jacket. You won't be zipped in the whole time. We like to see a motorcycle jacket with a lowered back. What this jacket also has is an elasticated cord that runs around the hem, and we really wish, in fact we're still hoping that Klim will, but we wish they had put this into their Marrakesh jacket, because it just enables you to make it much tighter if, again, excuse me, but if you're going over a bit of a tummy, if you've got a cord that runs around the hem, we can tighten it in. But I think it works, it's particularly necessary, as it were, with a jacket like this, because the zip is not 180, it's just a short zip at the back. And to stop rain, when you're riding on the road, to stop rain coming in underneath the jacket and into the trousers, it's really useful to be able to tighten that cord to make sure that rain can't get under. I've already alluded to the fact that in all the key aspects of design and construction, the jacket and the pant are similar. That is very much the case, but I'm just going to talk through some of the differences. Here on the waist, we've got an elasticated adjuster. We've got the zip, the half zip at the back. The material itself is that same 400 FPL, 630 denier Cordura equivalent. You've then got these extra panels of reinforcement here on the pocket. You've got it on the knees, here at the bottom of the leg here, and I think that's because that might come into contact with sharp bits on the bike. It's also, of course, all across the bum area. Pockets, you've got two large billows pockets. You've got these gussets in, so that's going to allow you to put a fair amount of gear in them. But what Klim have done with this suit, as opposed to previous incarnations of the Carlsbad, on previous incarnations they had the ability to enter here at the side when you were sat on the bike, to come in via the top, and that was deemed to be convenient on the bike, but for various reasons Klim have moved away from that. They've now made the pockets so they work better when you're stood up rather than on the bike. We've got vent zips here at the front, we've got an incoming vent here, an outgoing vent at the back. We've got a panel of leather inside the legs. Now that's for two main purposes. First is for extra grip on the bike. If you're standing up on the pegs, if you're riding properly off-road, to give better balance, you'll be stood up on the pegs, and particularly if it's wet, you'll find that this material can slide against the paintwork. If you've got leather, it will give you better purchase on the tank. But also if you do have a bike with a high-rise exhaust, you don't want the exhaust coming into contact with the suit, so hopefully that will give you some protection. It's really annoying to get a new suit, then burn it on your exhaust pipe. Back here, the lower part of the legs, we've got adjusters. Mention adjusters on the sleeves of the jacket. That was more, I feel, about the mid layer. If you wanted to put a thick mid layer, something like the Maverick underneath, you wanted to increase the volume. But I think here on the pant, it's more about accommodating a larger boot, because this is an off-road suit, or a suit that you could wear off-road. You might want to wear a large boot, something like one of those big plastic Alpenstars jobbers, and if you do, you might need to slacken this off to enable you to get the boot in. To the same end, you've got a zip from the bottom of the hem that opens up. There's a large gusset in there that's nice and wide. There's almost no boot you can't fit in there. But you won't always want to be riding in a boot like that. So what Klim have done, there are some poppers at the bottom here. So if, for example, you're wearing their new Outlander boot, which is a smaller boot, an ankle boot, you don't want it flapping around at the bottom. So there are 3 poppers here that are going to enable you to adjust the volume. So in summary, what is the Carlsbad? Is it for you? Well, if you want a waterproof suit that you can use in all conditions, riding on-road or off-road, then I think the Carlsbad is pretty much as good as anything out there. Now, here at Motolegends, we kind of prefer a more modular approach when we're talking about adventure riding. We prefer the idea of a jacket where you wear the waterproof on the outside. What that means is, if it rains heavily, you put the waterproof suit on, rains for an hour, half an hour, whatever. When it stops raining, you take it off, then the underlayer is totally dry. We think that is a better solution than relying on a garment that has lots of vents to overcome the fact that it's got a waterproof membrane. But it has to be admitted that our solution, the modular solution, is a bit of a faff. It means that if it does rain, you've got to go and get the waterproof, take it out, put it on. When it stops raining, take it off, put it back in the pannier, and so on. So if you want a one-stop solution that does pretty much everything, then you need to look at a suit like the Carlsbad. And it has to be admitted that Klim does this kind of suit better than anyone else on the market. Where we get to, however, is the fact that there is this huge gulf in price between the Badlands and the Carlsbad. The Badlands is £2,400. That's monstrously expensive. That's more expensive than pretty much the best from Rucker, and you don't even get a thermal liner with it. This suit, the Carlsbad, is just £1,100. And it's difficult to justify that kind of difference in cost when, for most people, the Carlsbad is going to be just as waterproof and it's going to be more comfortable. So I'm sorry, Klim, but actually, we think the Carlsbad is a much better bet. If you want to look at more adventure suits, visit the website motolegends.com. If you want to learn more about the Carlsbad in particular, then if you click on one of the links on the screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you to the correct page on the website. Now, when you're there, you can check out the spec in a little bit more detail, you can check availability, and obviously, if you want to buy the Carlsbad there and then, you can do that. When you do buy from us, we try to make the process simple, straightforward and risk-free as we possibly can. There's no delivery charge on any item of protective wear that you buy from us. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something. We have the best price promise in the business. Now, John Lewis was rightly famed for its never known the undersold price guarantee. We go one stage better. If you can find anybody selling something at a price that is lower than ours, we will beat that retailer's price by a full 10%. Now, there are a few terms and conditions, nothing particularly onerous, but if you are going to price beat us, I suggest you visit the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. If in the future you'd like to receive bulletins from us about new product launches, then if you go to the website, there's a bit of script that says newsletter sign up at the top. If you click on there, within seconds you'll be in business. In future, you'll receive our email bulletins. If, however, you prefer to get your information videographically, that is to say in this form, we would be simply delighted if you want to become a subscriber to our YouTube channel, and you can do that by clicking on the button below. Now, this is 2021. In 2020, last year, we gave away a Mutt 125cc machine to a YouTube subscriber. It was a lovely little mic. We had customized it a little to look like a Steve McQueen desert sled. This year, we're going up market a little bit. We're giving away a 250cc Fantic Caballero scrambler bike, but we're giving away not to a YouTube subscriber, but to somebody who follows us on Facebook. So if you want to stand a chance of winning this fabulous little bike, go across to Facebook and follow us. We're going to be giving the bike away, by the way, just before Christmas this year. I'd like to finish with a play for our little shop here at Motolegends. We're about a mile from the centre of Guildford, a mile from the railway station. And as I've said, it's a fairly small shop. It's got a small footprint, but it's attached to our warehouse where we have more than £2 million worth of merchandise arranged over 3 floors. Technically, that makes us the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the UK. But we think we are far more than just the amount of stock we have here in the building. We're all about service, we're all about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We've got the highest 5-star ranking in the business. And when you come and see us, we'll serve you only the finest Italian illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And who knows, you might even get to sample one of our delicious motorcycle-shaped shortbread biscuits. Anyway, this has been Chris. I hope to talk to you again soon.